Hi everybody, my name is Justin and welcome to Game On. Just a couple days ago, Wizards of the Coast announced a 3-book set that is converting the old Spelljammer rules into 5th edition. And it's got a lot of my friends excited, including my friend Nathaniel at the Maple Table, who is doing a comparison between Spelljammer and Starfinder. However, he made the suggestion to me that I make a video comparing Spelljammer and Traveller so that we can all have a greater understanding of these awesome space setting RPGs that are out in 2022. And that's what we're going to do today, so let's get strapped into our helms and get ready to jump faster than light. So let's take a look at the settings really quickly. So Spelljammer is a wildly fantastic and magical setting that has every single thing you can think of basically crammed into one setting. That means any game that you might have played in Homebrew, Forgotten Realms, Greyhawk, Eberron, the things that Critical Role takes place into. They are all in their own self-contained universes within a giant sphere like a snow globe. But each of those snow globes take place in a giant exterior universe called the Phlogiston, which is like this soupy, flammable, crazy mess of like a river slash ocean that all these crystal globes float in and kind of move around in. And players and Spelljammers can go out into the Phlogiston to get to other planes of existences and other little micro universes, that is like Forgotten Realms or Greyhawk. So you can jump from back and forth to your fun favorite kind of realms to play in. It's a really cool little setting that isn't really so little. Now, the assumed level of play in Traveller is the Third Imperium, which takes place in the actual Milky Way galaxy that we live in now, including Earth, which is known as Terra. There are plenty of other exoplanets out there that we are actually still discovering these days as astrophysicists, and we are learning all about these cool exoplanets, and Traveller actually has them in this system. So you can go all around the Milky Way galaxy. It's incredibly huge. It's not as big as Spelljammer, which has multiple micro-universes in it, but it is a very large setting as well. Let's have a talk about the ships, because they couldn't be any more different than they are now. Spelljammer ships go for the wild, romance on the high seas type ships, wooden with sails and masts. It's like that Pirates of the Caribbean kind of ship, though not all of them have to be like that because it really depends on the race and culture that you come from. If you've seen Baldur's Gate 3's cinematic intro, or you've seen any crazy pictures of that Nautilus, I'll show a picture of it now. The Illithids have this really cool ship that just kind of looks like a flying squid with a shell on it, kind of like a Nautilus. And we have the gnomes that have like a steampunky kind of ship design. And these open air top ships are surrounded by a bubble, which allow them to fly through the Phlogiston and through wild space, allowing the crew members to breathe on an open deck. It's a really crazy design, and the ship is partially magical because to fly the ship, you have to be a magically adept, usually arcane caster, though there are divine casters who can clock into a helm. And it's very similar to the Matrix style of chairs where you kind of sit in and then you kind of jack into the seat. If you've seen the Matrix, you've seen Neo kind of get the things all jacked into his body. That's kind of how it feels. If you've seen Treasure Planet, that is a really good kind of one-to-one on what some of these ships look like. Treasure Planet is just a great movie in general, but if you're looking to run a Spelljammer campaign, watch Treasure Planet. Now, Traveller couldn't be any more different because Traveller goes for the more realistic look, though it's not always realistic. They're trying to go closer to what we know as regular sci-fi IPs. That means we have either small ships, which small ships are probably the size of like a regular raised ranch suburban house, so pretty big still is the small ships. And we go all the way up to huge tonnage, super carriers that the Navy uses to launch smaller ships like cruisers and frigates. So it can go from a really small ship that's about the size of my house to large ships that's probably the size of a couple city blocks, even more. Now, the crazy thing about Traveller is that they have figured out how to do artificial gravity, which Spelljammer also has, but not all ships have artificial gravity. Some still use spin gravity, some still use thrust gravity. And you can't really fly a ship all by yourself like you can in Spelljammer. A single pilot ship that's a small ship like the one the size of my house, like a mining ship or a scout ship, does have one pilot, but it has multiple computers and AIs to help that one person fly the ship because it requires a lot of thought process to astronavigate, get ready for power management, and doing the actual jump and piloting. Whereas a big ship will have just multiple pilots, multiple crew up on the deck. Think Star Trek, Star Wars, doing all these different kinds of things, and it's all enclosed from the vacuum of space. Before we move on to the different kinds of space in Spelljammer and Traveller, if you like this kind of video, please give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more Spelljammer and Traveller videos. Thanks, guys. So space in Spelljammer and in Traveller are both incredibly similar in some senses and incredibly different in others, so let's take a look at Spelljammer first. So in Forgotten Realms, the setting that a lot of us know and love, takes place on a planet called Toril, and Toril has a system that it takes place in a solar system in a galaxy called the Torillian system. Now the Toril system itself, the solar system, has 8 planets and 1 sun, and in between all those planets is what is known as wild space or the Sea of Night. Now that is what you and I think of as space. It's called wild space in Dungeons and Dragons, and it's, when we look up to the night sky and we see, the vastness of nothing, that is called wild space. Wild space fills in all the gaps between the big destinations, and it is, again, what we know as space. Now, since the Torillian system is loosely based off of our own solar system, think about how long it took Voyager 1 and 2 to get to Jupiter, let alone out of our solar system past Pluto. It takes a long time, and what Spelljammer does is it actually gives you a very fast way to move, but it's still not faster than light in wild space. Now, according to my older Spelljammer material, a Spelljammer can go in a straight line 0.006c, or 6.44 million kilometers per hour. C being the speed of light, which I'll have here because I don't remember it off the top of my head. Now, that is fast. It's still not faster than the speed of light, but because Spelljammer kind of moves at the speed of plot, it does allow you to move really quick and kind of hand wave away, moving between large bodies and destinations at a very quick pace, so you can kind of keep that really fun adventure going. Now, Traveller went for a more realistic movement in space when it comes to real space, or M space. That's the space that we know and love and look up into the night sky for. Ships can move with these M drives using a hydrogen fusion engine, which pushes a big ship at either 1 gravity, which is about 1 M, maneuver 1, up to, depending on what tech level you're at, maybe M7, maybe even higher. The one thing that Traveller pilots and captains have to remember, though, is halfway through, you have to flip and retro burn into where you're going so that you can slowly bring yourself to a stop so you don't accidentally kill your passengers or fly your ship into a planet. Now, faster than light travel is actually quite interesting when it comes to both of these settings. In Spelljammer, you can go into what is known as the Phlogiston, which is that soupy, flammable mess that holds all these snow globes. That's kind of like an ocean with a current in it. Now, in this phlogiston, you can have your sails extended and you can ride the current at relatively what we would call faster than light. Now, it's kind of hard to do exact one-to-one to light speed. In Spelljammer, the phlogiston doesn't really have a light in it, but you can go what you and I as an outside observer would call much faster than the speed of light, because these currents in this magical setting are incredibly fast. And because you have artificial gravity and you have a whole lot of magic protecting you, you can go through the phlogiston at an insanely fast speed, going from Forgotten Realms to Greyhawk in just a couple of days worth of travel, which is insane to think about. But you gotta be careful. The phlogiston is extremely flammable. Please don't cast any magic spells in the phlogiston. Also, if you have a god from one of your settings and you are a divine caster, watch out, because there's a very good chance that you'll lose contact with your god, and you're going to be needing to pray to whatever god you find out there, because there's lots of monsters that live in the phlogiston that want to make sure that your day ends badly. So make sure to navigate very well through the phlogiston and get to where you're trying to go fast, or you might just get eaten by something that you've never even fathomed could exist. Now, Traveller, on the other hand, for faster than light travel, went a completely different route, and that's actually basing jump drives off of string theory, which is a real thing in physics. Now, these strings are smaller than the things that even make up atoms, like gluons. They're a little bit bigger than the Planck length, and all over the universe they vibrate at a different attenuation. And our hydrogen fusion drives in Traveller can tap into those vibrating strings and vibrate them in the perfect way to make them compact in what is known as compactification. The scientific word, not mine, though it is a cool word. And it allows you to take space-time itself, fold it on itself, and make it appear that your ship is traveling faster than light to the outside observer. And to the outside observer, it would look like that ship that jumped went 188 billion 154 million kilometers an hour. Now, the jury is still out in the Traveller universe itself. Some scientists and engineers think that you actually are traveling faster than light, and some engineers and scientists think that you are creating a micro-universe that lets you fold space-time itself using string theory. But you can roleplay that yourself and decide how it actually works in your game. So let's talk about magic really quickly. Spelljammer is D&D. You can't get away from it that it is magic. The phlogiston itself is just a giant soup of space magic. It's really crazy. And it doesn't matter if you're in a low magic setting like Greyhawk, or if you're in a no divine magic setting like Dragonlance, it is still, no matter where you go, steeped in magic. Everybody can pretty much cast magic, especially in 5th edition. Every class has a way to do magic of some sort, and the races even know how to do magic in some sort. They're just innately magical. Whereas in Traveller, there is a pseudo-magic called the Scions, and the Scions don't really do much. It's not the same magic. It's not flashy and explosive. It's kind of like some mind trickery, maybe some levitation, maybe some telepathy. Think about what a Jedi Padawan can do, just like kind of learning how to tap into the Force. That's what the Scions are in the Third Imperium. And in the Third Imperium, they are incredibly illegal. Both government-sponsored agencies and third-party private agencies will do everything they can to find you if you are a Scion and destroy you. Now, on the surface, these games look similar, but they couldn't be any more different. Even though they both take place in space, we have Spelljammer, which is romance on the high seas, treasure planet, magic, and just hand-wavy. It's magic that lets us do this. It's the D&D you love, it just happens to take place in space. Traveller, on the other hand, is more of a harder sci-fi, like Babylon 5, The Expanse, or the Battlestar Galactica reboot, where it still allows for very fun adventures to be told, but it takes place in more of a reined in kind of setting that you and I could actually play in a couple thousand years, whereas Spelljammer, I feel like, could never happen in our own real life. So, if you guys are interested, please don't forget to like and subscribe, because I'm going to be talking more in depth about these games on their own videos. So thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Justin, and remember to game on.